I'm Liz Zorab and this is Real Life Gardening. Between the orchard and the polytunnel we have a ditch, which is a drainage ditch to try and get some of this huge amount of water that we have for a lot of the year off the land quite quickly. And when they dug the ditch, I asked them to put all the soil that they dug out onto the side here, forming a mound, and into that I have planted raspberry canes. So effectively I have a raspberry hedge going all the way along here. At the moment, mostly what you can see are these beautiful pink grasses, but the raspberries are coming. It won't be too long before they're setting flower. I can see flower buds already. The ones at this end are an autumn fruiting raspberry called Autumn Bliss, and at the other end Ziva, which I'm not actually very taken with, and bit by bit I'm lifting some plants from here and moving them down that end. It's a better harvest, the birds leave them alone, they're more vigorous plants, they seem better suited to the climate here. These are very little work. The only thing we do is in late winter we cut all the stems back down to the ground, and Mr. J does this for me using a hedge trimmer, and he just goes along and takes everything off about 4 to 6 inches above soil level, and then we all here are last year's canes that he's cut down. We leave them there, they'll break down over time and add to the fertility of the soil here. The other thing you need to do is you need to harvest them, and once they get going, autumn fruiting raspberries, particularly Autumn Bliss, are really heavy croppers, and so from quite a small area, you don't need a huge great long row like this. From quite a small area you'll get plenty of raspberries. One word of warning though is they are real spreaders, and so we grow ours next to grass, which means that we mow on a regular basis, and I know that the plants I put in originally have come out to here, but they also appear over there as well. So just be prepared, you're either going to be constantly digging them up or grow them next to something that you mow on a regular basis. I mean, you can have a really neat edging, you don't need to have long grass like we have. Mr. J's mother used to grow them in a central bed in her lawn, so she kept the soil very clear, she kept the edges really neatly cut, and it looks like a really neat row of planting. So if neat is your thing, you can still have raspberries. Regular members of this community will know what I'm about to ask, and it's that if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment, or both. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing. And if you really want to do that extra little bit, well, what you can do is at the end of this is to watch another one of my videos, because that tells YouTube that you're really enjoying my channel. Thanks. So the raspberries are over there going that way, and at this side I've got Rosa rugosa, which is absolutely fantastic flowering hedge. We did an experiment this year when we cut them back, and he has cut back every other plant so that we can see how much difference it makes in terms of their flowering this year. I think that would be a really useful thing to know, because I don't want to keep cutting them back for years to come and then finding it's not having the kind of impact I want it to. It has, and all I can say is the ones that we left a bit longer flowered earlier, but the ones that we cut back have grown much more vigorously. They're flowering, they did flower a bit later, but they're flowering even better. We're going to have a much bigger harvest of rose hips from them. So in the spring or the late winter next year, we'll be cutting those, all of them, down to the ground quite hard. And then on this side, I've got a whole array of things. There's a honeysuckle down there, which can be used, not the berries, the flowers can be used to make syrups and a sort of honeysuckle honey almost. I've just noticed there is an allium that has self-seeded just there. How lovely. And also there are some roses, but I tend to not gather the hips of those just because we've got so many of the Rosa rugosa, and we've also got wild rose and dog roses growing in the hedge that I've put in all the way along behind me. But this smells delightful. I can smell it in the air from here. Nice. And now I'm on the other side of that fence. And all along it I've planted different types of currants. So there's black currants, white currants, red currants, Jostaberries, chuckleberries, Worcesterberries. They're all up here. 4 years ago I planted up an entire row over there with strawberry plants, and the next year I transplanted some of the runners into this row. Now, despite the fact there is this plant and there's a lot of weeds and things growing through, I have got masses of strawberries coming here, and they're netted, which means that birds are not going to get at them, I hope, before I do. Although, of course, you know, there is that chance. So I can see them coming. They're swelling up. They're not ripe yet. And usually we've had a load of strawberries from the polytunnel by now, but that hasn't happened this year. I don't know whether squirrels and other wildlife got to the strawberries before I did, but I can't find any in the polytunnel. But there's loads out here. So we've had some rain, we're due some more, and the sun is also out. So hopefully those strawberries will ripen nicely and we'll have a nice crop of those. And strawberries are so easy to grow. The plants need replacing every 3 or 4 years, but you can use the runners that they grow and pot those on, or just move them to a new place, and that will reinvigorate your strawberry plant stock. You can grow them in a bed, you can grow them in pots, in hanging baskets. Being investigated by bumblebees. Anyway, they are incredibly easy to grow. They don't need a whole lot of attention. And although you can buy them in the shops, the ones that you'll grow are going to be so fresh. They'll be incredibly tasty. And of course, as long as you don't spray them with anything, they'll be organic. This huge bush is a Jostaberry. It's a cross between a blackcurrant and gooseberry. It grows rapidly. It's absolutely smothered in berries every year. And so what you get is something the size of a smallish gooseberry, sometimes even a medium-sized gooseberry. But it will be dark, like the colour of a blackcurrant, and the taste is kind of a cross between the two. Now, unfortunately, we rarely get to taste many of these because the squirrels come and eat them. But I'm thinking this year, if I keep a really close eye on them, maybe I'll get to them before the wildlife does. They're really easy to propagate. You just take a stem and, as I often show you, you just wipe your hand down it gently to remove the lower leaves. Just leave a few at the top, not too many, and if you've got a big leaf you can always just tear that in half. And then you just push that into the ground or into a pot with some compost, and it's only a matter of months before roots will appear all the way down the stem and you'll have a new plant. And I've done exactly that. Down here I've got several more of them, I think, where I've shown you just this thing in the past. And here we have a Lycesteria formosa, also known as pheasantberry, Himalayan honeysuckle. And the fruits are edible. You have to wait. So these lovely purple bracts hide tiny white flowers, and then once they have been pollinated by flying insects, they'll produce berries. You need to wait until they are black and soft and kind of almost mushy, and they almost feel like a tiny deflated balloon. It's that sort of soft feel to them. You can eat them then, and they taste of, well, I always describe it as like a burnt toffee apple caramel flavour. All along this row I have Redcurrants. These are a variety called Laxton's number 1, and I can see some of them are just becoming red now. The others still have plenty of ripening to do. And last year I didn't get to eat most of the harvest. I got a harvest from one plant. I don't mind the birds having them. The problem with the squirrels is they get over enthusiastic and they end up actually snapping stems off and breaking them, which is a bit of a nuisance. This rather scruffy looking shrub is a honeyberry, and it flowers very early in the year, And about now, the little tiny, very dark fruits start becoming ripe. They say you need 2 plants for them to pollinate. Well, I've actually got several dotted around, so there's a couple over there and a couple in that direction, and I'm delighted. And you'll find the berries underneath, so there they are. These ones still aren't ripe yet. The unripe fruits are really quite bitter or quite tart and sour, and I've got to say the fully ripe ones are not hugely sweet, and I'll cook them then, so I'll include them in like a berry compote or something like that. So different varieties will give you different sized berries, and it's definitely worth looking for one that has a very high yield. If you're going to use the space in your garden, then get the maximum you can from it. Back in the veg garden, there's a row of gooseberry plants. These are prickly little plants, but they do have some fruit coming on them, which I'm delighted about. I think there's 8 or 10 plants along here, and some are more successful than others. They almost always get caught by gooseberry sawfly, but not until they've given us a harvest. Hurrah! Last but certainly not least, we have rhubarb. I've got 8 plants of rhubarb in the garden that produce stems at different times of the year. So there are 4 timply early that give me an earlier harvest, and then I've got Victoria and Sutton seedless here, which give me a slightly later harvest, and possibly one there that's called Champagne. It's still too tiny to harvest from yet. To me, the 2 huge advantages of having homegrown fruit is how fresh and tasty they are, but also what a huge amount of money they save. So if you want to start propagating some of your own fruits, I suggest you start with something like currants or gooseberries. I'll leave a link on the screen and in the video description, and if you click on that link, it'll take you straight through to that video. And so, wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.